It's really hard for me right now to like kind of stay calm prior to, us kicking this off because I was just over on, and I was over on YouTube listening to, what is it, Emerge by Fisher Spooner. It's the song at the end of episode 5 of season 3 of Westworld. And I don't know, it's got like a really cool, funky, like, I don't know, cyberpunky feel to it. And I was like dancing out to it. And then I have to like chill and be here. So I'm chill and I'm here and I'm Judge James. It is Thursday night, so happy Friday Eve. And this is Living for Crits. I don't know. It's just it's been kind of a crazy week. To Greg's comment there, I am presently drinking a Bigelow green tea with pomegranate. I just hiccuped. And this is my tribute drink to Gen Con 2020 and our loss of that convention to this virus that we're dealing with. And I'm not going to bore anyone right now at the beginning of the show with why this drink is so special to me when it comes to Gen Con, but it really is. I'm going to do a little thing at the end about why, I don't know, I'm not going to go into Gen Con 2020, I guess, today. Maybe we'll talk about that Sunday, maybe, on Living for Crits with Judge Evie. But for tonight, at the end, I'll discuss the Bigelow green tea with pomegranate real shortly. I'll give you a little story if you stick around. But otherwise, you don't have to do that. So, anywho, I am rocking the massive hair here. And it's like a Brady look. I keep fluffing it. And how fluffy can it get? And it only goes fluffier. It's not going to... My wife, I think, wants me to have a ponytail or something at some point. Maybe to hide the bald spot in the back of my head. I don't know. I'm not sure why she wants to have a ponytail. But I don't think I'm going to get there. I think it's just going to just grow into this sphere. I was joking on Discord earlier that if you read the Dying Earth books, and I just started, that red star isn't the sun. It's what's going to happen to my hair over 1 billion years. It's going to eventually condense and ignite like a stellar ignition. It's going to be amazing. Oh, no man buns. All right, well, tonight's Thursday night review is going to be part 2 of a 3-part unboxing review retrospective, if you will, on Harley Stroh's incredible Peril on the Purple Planet box set. Shazam. Wait, no, that's the box set. There it is. It's not mirrored, so I get kind of screwed up when I look at these. That's the box set. Okay. Last week we did an actual unboxing of the box set. We dug in, we looked at the setting. What is the Purple Planet, and how is it different from other fantasy settings, whether it's DCC or D&D settings? What is the Purple Planet all about? And this week I'm going over some adventures that come with the Purple Planet. So, for instance, Escape from the Purple Planet and the Lost Tombs of the Ancients. But most importantly, the biggest thing we're discussing today is the namesake, Peril on the Purple Planet. This is the adventure. Technically, I think with the Kickstarter that they did originally, like this was like the minimum goal was you'd get this 32-page adventure, but you ended up getting so much more. But this is what we're going to cover today and talk about in depth. I'll discuss the other two briefly. As a review, with my review rules, I don't want to review anything that I don't own, that I haven't read, and that I haven't run as a game. So I'm always open to suggestions, but my rule is going to be, going forward, that if I haven't like dug into it and really experienced it, I'm not going to talk about it. I don't think it's fair to the writers to just like talk about some things. They just kind of scan through it. I also think that the only way I'm going to be able to really showcase to you my thoughts and feelings on these games is if I really kind of dug into them and had a great time with them. And stuff I don't like, you're not going to hear me talk about, because I'm not going to review things I don't like. So that's the one positive. Not to say I won't review things maybe because or if I don't review it, that means I don't like it. There's many things that I would that at some point I'll get to reviewing, but we'll start with my favorites here. There's some comments. How come game companies do not do boxing videos when they show the contents as they fill the box? That's a good question. And if the camera got blurry, I apologize. I'm looking okay. It looks okay to me right now. I don't know. Maybe it's just you, Rob. Um, anyway, all right. I gotta say, I won't drink it on camera, but we got some Dark Trails old number 666 hooch, old scratches Eldritch hooch for Dark Trails, and tonight's adventure is dedicated to three very special individuals. It's dedicated to Gastronomics, the dwarf played by Alex Pericchini, Ductive and D, the two-headed kith played by Paul Go, and Screaming Otto, the warrior played by Jonathan Sadre, because all three of these characters died on the Purple Planet during this 13-part campaign we took on that blasted world. And I think it's as there of 13 total characters that went to the Purple Planet. I think it's a testament that only 3 died. Of how powerful DCC characters are at level 13, or level 3. There is no level 13 in DCC. It ends at level 10. All right, so let's dig into this. Let's talk about Escape from the Purple Planet. What is it? Well, it's a 0-level adventure. It's a 0-level funnel by Harley Stroh. The cover art and the map for this are by Doug Kovacs. So it's phenomenal art, as always, from Doug. I run this 3 times, once with the Norwin Game Nights, which was a game club we ran back in Pittsburgh when I lived there. One in Michigan at my friend Jeremy Land's birthday party. We drove to Michigan for that one year. And then I ran it. It was my second road crew game ever at Phantom Games, I believe. I think the first one I ran with Phantom Games was, I think I did Sailors on a Starless Sea first, and this is the second one. And it's a really fun adventure. It does not take a lot of time. You can wrap this thing up in about 2.5 to 3 hours if you're moving the players along. If you want to really have a good time, you could do it in 4. It's a great convention adventure. It takes place in 2 very distinct parts. The part 1 is the arena maze of Rick Vole. I don't know if it's Rick Vole or Rick Ole, and I'll show you why I'm not sure. And maybe it's in there somewhere, but the font throws me off. So that's the font. So that's Rick. Is it Vol or Ol? I don't know. Why would it be Ol? That's a weird way to pronounce it. I'm scratching my nose again. I'm sorry. So in the first part of this adventure, and again, spoilers, characters wake up locked up, chained to a wall, awaiting death in an arena. And they don't really know why they're there, but they're there. And it's a beginning of a game very akin to me to Dark Sun Shattered Lands for the computer, a video game I played a ton of in like the early 90s. It was one of the first computer games I actually finished and beat. So the characters in this game, they have to escape, gather gear and weapons, and they get to this arena full of kith, and it's a bloodbath. And the player characters can try to survive the bloodbath, but eventually they're going to realize it's all for naught, and they're going to get sucked down into this thing called Rick Vole's Hypogeum. And in the Hypogeum, part 2, the adventure transitions. It's now a horror adventure. And the characters are hunted by this thing called the Mar, a progenitor of the modern kith. And it's a killing machine, and the party needs to make their way and go deeper and deeper until they find this Ethonian longship. Tayo, the Lizix, the mad navigators down there. They have to free him and have him take the players, whisk them away somewhere else. And there's a little bit of a blurb called Appendix I about whether or not you want interplanetary heroes. Do you want to take this campaign to, I don't know, into space itself? You could have them travel to another planet, another world, whether you want to make up your own. You want to have them find the Metamorphosis Alpha ship, the Warden, whatever you want to do, or just take them home. I love the way this adventure starts off sword and sandal with over-the-top action and then progresses to more of a horror feel. At that point and later in the game, the players will have gotten closer to their characters by then. Usually in a 0-level funnel, the first characters to die, they're, the less interesting ones. As characters survive, players start to get more attached. I think 0-level funnels are hard for horror modules because players come in not that connected to their characters. So having the big epic scene is the the Kith arena scene, and whoever survives that has to be the hardiest and the toughest. If you're doing this as a campaign, your players want those characters to make it through to the end. And so for the game to transition to horror, there's a really cool metamorphosis that occurs. And so it gives this adventure gives a great taste of the Purple Planet while playing around with the action adventure and then the over the top action adventure and then the horror in that succession. And you can use this in several ways. It's a great one shot. It's in the Peril on the Purple Planet box set, but it's not linked to the adventure. Like this does not link you to this. I mean, this is level 0 and this is level 4. It's supposed to be. We ran it a little bit lower than level 4 to start it off. But you want to be 3rd level at minimum when you get to this world. You want to have gear and items and weapons and all kinds of stuff. But in this adventure, you'd have to do this and then do a lot of stuff in the middle to ever get powerful enough for this. So as Mark and Andy, so we have 2 viewers on tonight. Mark Plord and Andy Lyon are watching right now, and they were both in my campaign for Peril on the Purple Planet. And you're right, you guys didn't do this. This is a 0 level funnel, and we didn't choose this one. With that said, if you did want to use this with the rest of the campaign, you could have your player characters start here on the funnel, like they're abducted by aliens and taken to this world. And they go home to their regular world, and maybe they have visions and flashbacks of being trapped on this world. And, eventually the king or the prince or whoever, or the aliens come back later and hijack them and bring them back to the Purple Planet, whatever. Maybe they're just so connected to that world that the king or the prince or whatever send them there to go bring back some swag from the Purple Planet because they're connected to the Purple Planet. There's a lot of ways to do it. I personally think that this is best used to showcase some of what the Purple Planet's about. I think you have a really hard time running this between both. Andy says he didn't play it at the game nights. Maybe I didn't. I thought I did. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I ran it online or something for a one shot. I don't know. Okay. The next one I'm going to cover is pretty short because I didn't play it, and that is Lost Tombs of the Ancients. And I spent some more time with this over the last week, and maybe I should have covered this last week. This really isn't an adventure. This is actually just more Purple Planet. Well, it says it's more Purple Planet adventures, but it's tombs. It's a series of tombs. It's a 24-page book that you can place within this. So you can, as they're exploring what's a hex crawl, we'll discuss that in a second, you can place these tombs if you want to. And we didn't do it. I didn't even include these. I'm embarrassed to say I forgot this was in the box. And we got so caught up in the craziness that's in here that I never went into this and messed with this. But what it is it's built for the character. It's built for the character levels of any, like, so 3rd, 4th, 5th that are designed for the Purple Planet box set adventure, for the core Peril and Purple Planet adventure. It's 24 pages of tombs, crypts, and general techno-creepy locales beneath the sands of the Purple Planet. It has a really rad cover by Doug Kovacs, and there are what's it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 adventures in here. There's the Tomb of Sotark the Destroyer by Daniel J. Bishop, the Tomb of the Immortal Khal by Terry Olson, the Tomb of Dust by Edgar Johnson, the Bunker by Daniel J. Bishop, and the Tomb of the Organon Magisteros by Tim Callahan. I flipped through them. I'm actually really bummed out I didn't throw a couple of these in the campaign. So who knows when I'll have a chance to use them again. It's very regrettable, actually, and I feel just bad about it. So the use for these would be, as you're playing the main campaign, to use these as locations on the map that the players could explore. And yeah, Mark says Monday. We are playing Monday, Purple Planet, but we're playing a different game, Purple Planet. We're not doing those. Maybe we'll do them in the future. Who knows? More throwback games. All right, here we go. Look, let's just do this now. This is Peril on the Purple Planet, and You just need to bask in the glory of this adventure. This is a 4th level module by Harley Stroh. Cover and cartography by Harley Stroh. Dak Ultimac edited it. Interior art is Doug Kovacs and Stefan Pogue. This is the hex crawl amongst hex crawl. This adventure is a true open world experience, if you let it be a true open world experience. You have to have a GM or judge that is willing to let their characters just enjoy this world and get everything they can out of it. I'll zoom in a bit. Again, spoilers, there's the player start. On this map, every hex is something. And every hex could lead to death or glory, treasure, or monsters, or possibly even allies, or unlikely allies, or just weirdness, a crazy storm, a sandstorm, something happens with the sun, who knows? There are so many ways to play this campaign, and there are so many ways to complete it. The adventure itself is only 32 pages. But it feels like so much more. I think in the Kickstarter, if I had just gotten this adventure and not the rest of the stuff, I would have been fine. I really do enjoy just what's in the main adventure. Just getting everything else is just a giant bonus. It lets you flesh out the world, but this adventure packs so much into something that's not hard to read, that you can prepare in a night. You could read through this and start playing tomorrow. So it's not like you have to take this and digest everything all at once. You can go ahead and start playing this when the box comes, or if you're doing a PDF, just make sure you read the adventure first. I read the adventure first, then read everything else, and then read the adventure again when I ran it a couple years later. I actually had this box, I want to say, for about 2 years maybe, until I ran it. So again, spoilers. A question here: what party size is ideal? I had 6 players, and I allowed them to rotate their characters. I'm going to discuss the player characters here in a second. So what we're going to do is discuss the adventure, and then I'm going to shift over into the campaign that I ran with it. This will be a long review. So we're at 18 minutes already. This is going to be a long video. I can't keep this one short. Next week will be shorter because there's less to discuss next week. So here's the basic story, okay? Player characters are sent to the purple planet. They must retrieve a green stone, this giant green gem, for someone. It's up to you who that someone's going to be. And they have to use a green stone to get home through a magical, I think it's a magical throne or chair, but they could also use a collection of these greenstone shards that they collect. And as I discussed last week, greenstone shards aren't just something you gather to get off the planet. You gather them so that you can power your gear, your relics that you find. You gather them for trade. You can use them to spell burn. They're a resource to be used. Now, in this world, in that giant map, there's only 3 intact greenstones in the entire campaign. There's one held by the Kith clan Regentor. There's one held by the clan Kotsist. And there's one on the head of this giant great orm mother, or worm mother. They call them orms, but they're worms. These giant sandworm. One's on its head. And that prowl, and you you should survive. Just survive. Okay? That's the other part of the story. You gotta survive. Okay? So get the stones, don't die. That's it. This is a story that a GM should make their own. You could shorten this into a 3 or 4 session experience by just saying they get trapped on the planet, they need to collect 25 shards and get home. In which case, you could do that in a few days. If you just want to take a quick excursion to the purple planet, you could do that. Or you could say they have to bring back all the greenstones and make them experience the entire planet. That could be cool. There's 3 greenstones there. Make them get all of them. And who the person sending them there for this, I guess, MacGuffin of sorts. It can be a powerful wizard. It could be a patron if it's in Lankmar. We had it be the God Emperor of our campaign setting. This character named Razul. It was actually one of Mark Plord's characters. He retired as a God Mayor of Slither's End, became the God Emperor of the great city, and therefore took over the campaign when he retired his character. And the God Emperor sent them to this world to bring back a greenstone, an intact greenstone. But, here's the thing, however you get there, why you get there, doesn't really matter. Because once your players are on the Purple Planet, their asses belong to Harley Stroh. All right? And he's going to just kick them all across those wastes. So, the campaign, in my mind, exists in 3 phases. In the first phase, the players are going to, and this isn't written in here, this is my experience watching it, and then when I was playing it with them originally, I was playing a whole lot of the Long Dark, and I was watching how similar it felt in the experiences. During the first part of the players' experience on the Purple Planet, they are learning to survive. What do the mushrooms do if they can find them? What do relics do? How do relics work? The sun is scorching them during the day. How are they going to travel at night? Where do they find food? Where do they find water? They spend several sessions figuring that out. As time progresses, the adventure shifts into exploring. Once the characters figure out how to deal with living there, they can start figuring out, well, okay, where am I going to explore on this big map? I should show again the map, and I wish I should probably screen share stuff, but I'm not gonna. You have this giant map with this giant mountain range in the middle, okay? And the player characters, the important things are on the edge, so they're gonna have to travel out. And as a GM, you can push them in that direction. Eventually, get to the edge of a plateau, and they have no choice but to turn around. I don't like that. I'm glad that my player characters didn't have to worry about that. They went in a certain way and eventually found clues to find where they wanted to go. But it's hard to travel around this world, and exploration is tiring and tough. There are not towns every 5 miles that they can stop at. There are only 2 places that are like civilizations they can stop at, and neither of them is very friendly. So, you really are stranded on this world. You really get the feeling as a player in this game, I believe, that you are on an alien world. Much more than, again, a Dark Sun or any other setting where it's like a big wasteland. But eventually the player characters master the planet. They find some way to excel, whether it's through domination of relics, or they start their own warband of Kith, or they take over one of the cities, defeat the worm, whatever, they master it, and they can find a way home. Towards the end, they're very powerful. I discussed the aspects of the Purple Planet last week that make it stand out. The Kith, the relics, the mushroom, the Weirdling Sun. I'm not going to cover them this week. If you want to hear more about the actual setting, go back and watch last week's video. I'm going to discuss the adventure and how it works itself. So much of this adventure is driven by a fun and very random hex crawl system. So every hex on the map the players move, something happens. You roll 3d5, modified by how the party is traveling, and you deal with the ramifications of what the party encounters. It could be a cairn in the mountains full of treasure. It could be Kith raiders in the broken hills. It could be an abandoned camp in the mushroom jungle, or a full battle scene in the waste of just Kith army and Kith army just destroying each other. The party can exploit the results of the encounter to gain power, ally with a Kith warband or faction, uncover greenstone shards, or maybe just hide. Or maybe have to deal with what just happened to them. Maybe they had a really awesome skiff and were flying across the sands, but all of a sudden the storm knocks their skiff out, and now they're stranded, and they have not enough gear to be where they are. Some of the results you could get, I rolled these up ahead of time. Kith Army is not Kiss Army. That's correct. It is. Kith Army and Kiss Army are not the same. The Kith are these things on the cover, these like kind of cat-like people. I personally think of them as the Kilrathi from the less cool Wing Commander movie. Personally, I'm a huge Wing Commander fan from like the 90s. It was the best era in gaming. And, I think the Prince Thraketh from Wing Commander 3 is like the ultimate Kilrathi setup. The Kilrathi in the Freddie Prinze Jr. movie were not cool, but they look like Kith. So, anyway. Um, just looking at comments here, you guys. All right, so here's some results from one hex to another. You go in a hex in the wastes. This hex is raiders that are nearby the party. And these raiders, 19 Kith raiders, you knew a battle. They're right there and they attack you. At the end, you have the gear they were carrying, what weapons they were carrying. And I liked to roll on the Kith features and gear tally. So you might find a lot of cool stuff on those Kith. And then also, as the PC search, they find 5 pints of moon milk. They find 18 days of mushroom meat rations, 3 death's head mushroom caps, and 2 greenstone shards. A good haul for killing some Kith. Now, you gotta watch out because which Kith are they? Are they from House Regentor or House Kotzist? Or are they just like rogue Kith? Maybe if the players are aligned with one of the factions, they might find a way to, maybe this band of raiders is going to help them out. Maybe they'll join the player characters. Who knows? Another result could be a relic. There are lots of relics in this game, as discussed last week. The parties find a ray rifle. With a characteristic, though. This ray rifle is sacred to the Kith, who refuse to allow an outsider to possess it. Trouble for later. And as a judge, there's no reason to say, oh, you find a relic on the ground. You could say that, you know what, there's this tomb or this coffin is just laying there on the waste, and it tips over when you walk past it from the wind, and this ray rifle pops out. And it's like, ooh, that's kind of cool. So you could find a way to like have it to add some flavor in there. I think this is an adventure the GM does need to come to the table with the ability to ad lib a bit. In the Ancestor Peaks, maybe you find a cairn, and you can use one of the cairn maps. There are maps in here, I think 4 individual cairns. So here's the cool cairn map. You pick which one it's going to be, and you deal with whatever is in there. Random looting tables for whatever corpse is inside this thing. In there's different treasure, greenstone shards, other gear and equipment. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff you can find in this in the cairns in the mountains, but you can only find them in the mountains. As the campaign progresses, the party will eventually find their way to a city called Castellum Kotzist, or the city. I'm sorry, what's more like a base camp, or the City of Smoke, or maybe the pit of the Great Mother Orm Vatya Ibdid. And only by spending time mastering the Purple Planet will the party gain enough experience, relics, and greenstone shards to deal with any of these through combat alone. There are ways to ally with the weird and bizarre entities of this world, like the Ascended Masters who are floating heads in jars. I think they're pretty cool. And there's ways to gain favor with the Kith and even create your own warband, become Masters of the Sands that way. And you can always just go try to attack the Great Orm Mother. But, it's up to you and it's up to your player characters how they're going to solve this. But I think it's an important point. They have to explore the world. They can't just walk their way in a linear quest to find a city, beat the city, and go home, because they'll get romped. They'll just get destroyed. All right. So how did my players tackle it? So we had 7 players in this campaign over the life of the campaign. Usually 4 to 5 people at the table at once. And it was Alex Pericchini, Andy Lyon, Craig McCullough, John Desadre, Mark Plord, Paul Go, and Frank German. And 13 characters. And the players would rotate who they played per adventure. We did it. It was called a character tree. It was from D&D Dark Suns, where I got the idea for it. I've done them over the years as a way to have players try different characters out and have more than one character. There was Nicodemus the Thief and Gastronomics the Dwarf, both played by Alex. Andy had Soph Retaff, the cleric, and Lil Hammy, the tiny pig paladin, who was a small pig statue turned into a real boy. Mark had, I'm sorry, Craig had Watson the Eagle Wizard. His wizard early on, in the very first game, he was a wizard. When he cast Magic Missile, it was the eagles that came at you. So he had that one character. Mark had Floyd Pink, the warrior, and Sainin, the wizard, and famously Nutbiter, the manimal / war shih tzu. Paul had Imric the elf and Ductive the kith. He also had Star Rider the wizard. Let's see here. Frank had Walter the elf, and Jonada had Screaming Otto the warrior. We did 13 sessions of the campaign. 10 of them were in the main campaign itself, in Peril of the Purple Planet, and 3 sessions were spent dealing with this vicious, death-ridden adventure called The Rock Awakens, which I think this one cost the party Ductive, or was it Gastronomics, or was it both? I think it might have been both. This was a killer adventure. And one adventure was, we essentially played Warlords of the Purple Planet, which is I think it's still in beta testing. It's a board game version of Peril on the Purple Planet that Harley Stroh has written, is working on, and has run at several conventions. All right, so we started this campaign at 3rd level. And we had, if there were 6 players, 6 characters. To answer Greg's question earlier, I think the optimal table size for this is 6 players, especially at 3rd level, if you're starting 1 level behind, because you could have scenes with lots of kith. And I'd say if you are a party, it doesn't have at least a couple, like 2 or 3 spellcasters, you're going to be in trouble. You want to be able to cast Magic Missile. You want Flaming Hands. You want to be able to set things ablaze in mass. You want warriors cleaving through people. Those one-shot thieves, that's great for some of the bosses, but in a lot of the early adventures or early sessions, you're fighting a lot of kith. You need a way to fight multiple targets at once. You're going to want those spellcasters. So I think 6 players is probably optimal. 7 if you're playing in person, but it's really, 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 really hard to have 7 people online. I don't like playing online with more than 4 players at a time. I get lost in it. So in our party, they started learning to survive. That's how they began the game. They slowly made their way from the starting point, that starting tomb or crypt west of the Ancestor Peaks. They explored a cairn. They found the Lake of Death, and in that acid lake, there was a skiff that was a hovering like airship, but it had to be close to the ground. It was like Santa's sleigh essentially, and they used that. They fished the skiff out of the acid lake. And that changed the whole campaign for them, because then they transitioned into the exploring the Purple Planet phase of the campaign. They took the skiff south, and then west, and then north. They rounded the Ancestor Peaks. They fought a bunch of mass battles with the skiff as their team chariot. They helped Clan Kotsist out and gained some allies. They cut Ductive free of a dead Orm on the ground. They got a kith character for a while. They visited the Mushroom Forest. They tackled the Rock Awakens, and they got pretty powerful. And eventually they mastered the Purple Planet, and they got to Castle Kotsist. They made allies even further with House Kotsist. Floyd, Soph, Watson, and Walter became champions of House Kotsist and were given 100 kith raiders to make their own warband. And the next adventure was them waging war and collecting glory for House Kotsist. For a month in-game, they gathered greenstone shards, killed more kith, gained more kith, and equipped them with beast mounts to become like kith cavalry. And eventually they gained the attention of the Great Orm Mother, and that was the big climactic battle. They had so much greenstone that the Orm Mother found them out and sought them out. And the battle, I would say, was kind of anticlimactic, only because Craig and Andy rolled so well. Like, Craig blew the hell out of that thing with a ton of magic missiles. And then Andy like, I don't know, he rolled a huge number on his paralysis spell, and I think he luck burned into it, and he just froze this entire worm. And I think the Great Orm Mother, let me get the stats on this thing. It's a friggin' beast. Where is it? I'm going to find it here. Its initiative is negative 20, AC of 22, 40d16 hit points, 320 hit points in total, and is a fortitude of plus 30, reflexive minus 20, and a will of plus 25. Yeah, and Andy, I think he rolled a 20, I think, on freezing it, and that's what happens. You need to roll a 20 to get successful. It was, as Andy says, the MVP of the Sunken City and Purple Planet campaign. Totally agreed. For a character that Andy thought was just trash, or he didn't like very much, didn't think he played very much, this cleric in the Purple Planet of Aristemis, he rolled this 20 on this paralysis spell, and that was pretty epic. So it was anticlimactic in the best way possible. I think if it would just been a typical scene, it would have been it wouldn't have been as interesting. But they had dozens of Kith dying. Screaming Otto, the party's warrior, he died fast. He died like in the first or second round of combat. He was a pretty, I don't say weak character. He had gone like below 0 hit points a lot during the campaign, and he had only like 6 or 7 stamina left. So there wasn't much left to him in hit points. He was not the toughest warrior, but he had a lot of heart. And when the Orm Mother died, 11 Death Orms popped out. The party had 74 Kith Raiders still, and they used them to kind of like cover their retreat. They got the Greenstone shard out of her head, or Greenstone out of her head. They returned home, via the what's it called? They rode their skiff home, or back to the tomb where they had the throne, and they put it in there, and they buzzed themselves home, and that was that. It was a pretty damn good campaign, I gotta say. I really enjoyed it. We had a really, really good time, and it was just so memorable. So I'm very, very happy and pleased that I've run it. I'm very grateful I had a great group of players to run it. I mean, Andy and Mark and Alex and Paul and Craig and Jonathan and Frank. It was just a really good time. I know you can't get a print box set, but you can get the PDFs, and I believe they are doing another Kickstarter for it in the future. So for maybe a reprint and maybe some more material, maybe the board game, maybe just, you know what, hold off until then, or buy the PDF until then. Either way. All right, overall, because you can take so many paths to go through this adventure, to complete it in so many ways, and to make it your own. You can make this as a GM your own thing. You don't want to do it as a hex crawl and you want to add more plot, you can do that. This is a map, though, that you as a GM can enjoy in a way that you can't do in other games, because you don't know how it's going to go. It's really fun it was fun for me to experience a campaign where I had no idea what was going to happen that night. I was as excited as the players were, I think, to see where it was going. So for those reasons, this adventure is so high on my list of recommendations. This isn't just one of the best DCC RPG adventures. Peril on the Purple Planet is one of the best adventures written for any role-playing game, period. I mean, hands down. You need this in your life. And I don't think anyone who would get this and just read it would be disappointed, even if you just took it and pulled materials out of it to put into other games. This is a game. This is a box set for you. This adventure, though, this is just top friggin' notch. So A+ is my score on that adventure. So, all right. So we're talking about the green tea. Any questions about the game come out while I'm discussing green tea? Oh, there is a question here. How long was the campaign? We ran it in 13 sessions. 10 sessions for the main adventure, 3 sessions for the Rock Awakens. So, and we played it over once a month, about 3-hour sessions. So 39 hours, 40 hours. Some of it was a little rushed probably in some nights because I was trying to, 3 hours is tough to get time into. And yeah, we could have gone longer, Mark. You're right. We could have. But you guys were owning that world because you're getting like 4th and 5th level, and those characters are pretty powerful. Uh, all right. So while questions come in, if they come, and if they don't, no problem. The green tea. I'll discuss the green tea for a second. So this is a very special thing for me here. This green tea, this Bigelow green tea with pomegranate reminds me of Gen Con so much. So if you don't know that an extrovert can have social anxiety, surprise, I think I am a very extroverted person who has social anxiety. And I do a good job hiding it, or at least masking it, as most people I think with social anxiety do. I think that maybe it's one of my benefits of being a judge, a game master, is I can wear many faces. And so it's funny what I'm more comfortable and less comfortable doing. Like, I really don't like having small talk at parties and stuff. I'm not comfortable doing that, but I'm very comfortable. If you said, okay, Jim, go do karaoke, I can do that. I can be in the front of the room, owning the room. I do not like just being another fly on the wall. I'm not comfortable doing that. So I signed up to go do Gen Con 2014, and I had never been to Gen Con before, and I was so anxious and worried about it as we got closer. There was so much build up into it. I was running a lot of games for Monty Cook Games, and they gave the adventures a few weeks before the con. You sign up for the slots. I knew I was running 2 games of Numenera and 2 games of The Strange for them, but I didn't see the adventures until like 3 weeks prior to the convention. And they send you what you're going to run, which is how Monty Cook Games does it typically. So I'm getting ready for this convention, and I'm nervous. I'd never been to a convention. I signed up to run 5 games, 4 Cypher games, and a Savage Worlds game that I'd written myself. And I was starting, as I got closer, to having a little insomnia, and I was getting anxious at night. I was sick to my stomach. Actually, the whole night before we left to drive, I couldn't get to sleep till like 4 a.m. I was so anxious. The only reason I slept the night before my first event was I hadn't slept the night before. So the morning of the convention, I get up and I couldn't eat, and I go into the hotel lobby. We were staying off site, and I'm looking for something to drink that I don't want anything that's too sweet. I don't want anything that has any cream or dairy in it. I felt like that would mess up my voice maybe. And I had an event at 10 a.m. It was a 10 to 2 game. I had a 10 to 2, yeah, I had a 10 to 2 session that day. No, it was 12 to 4. It was a 12 to 4 game. So I was able to be there for the opening of the whole con. So it was 12 to 4. So, but I still hadn't eaten. So no food. And that's something I used to do. I don't do as much now, but I used to not be able to eat before doing anything in public. Like that. Even speaking. I've gotten better at that over the years. But what I did drink was I poured this big cup of the Bigelow pomegranate tea. They had it at the hotel, and I nursed it for the whole morning. And it became kind of a routine for me for the week, as I'd make this cup of Bigelow green tea in the morning. By the end I'd make 2 of them, and I'd bring it to the event, and I'd sip it, and I liked it hot, warm, or cold. It didn't bother me. And I would just nurse it during the events. And so now it's one of those things I have to have, and it reminds me of Gen Con. It reminds me of that experience. And for me, like a lot of people, like sights and smells and tastes, sometimes bring me solace when things aren't going so well. And I really like to have this. So if I'm feeling a little off or anxious or whatever, just having this smell, like, that smells like Gen Con to me. Like, it's funny, smelling that and opening, if I smelled this and opened a Savage Worlds book, the smell of the Savage Worlds books, I think the Studio 2 books remind me of Gen Con, and the green tea here reminds me of Gen Con. So, I'm drinking this kind of as a tribute to Gen Con 2014, 2020 and 2014. It's my first Gen Con. This will be my 7th Gen Con, right? And I totally support, what they're doing and why they're not having it. I was not going to be comfortable running games or being at a convention with 70,000 people. Just wasn't. But it still sucks. It's still I still mourn it. I look forward to it all year. I start thinking about Gen Con as soon as I leave Gen Con. So it's going to be hard not having that this year. And I know it's going to be hard for a lot of you as well. And, I think the best thing we can do is support each other. So whatever makes you comfortable, whatever makes you happier, I really enjoy doing the reviews. This has been helpful for me to have these conversations. So every Thursday, and we're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep this up. So anyway, that's that. There was a question here, quick question from Rob. I've been wondering for the several shows, do you put a sign on the other side of the door to tell the family, hey, I'm doing a show, don't come in? You mean this door? This door leads to our sump pump. So I gotta say, if anyone comes through that door, is just this is our basement. So this is our basement. That's the sump pump room. In there is the sump pump and the electrical panel. So if anyone comes through that door, since it leads just to a basement wall, I am in trouble. The only way in, Rob, and one day when this virus is over, we're going to have you over. You and Gene can come down and play, okay? So we're going to have a great game here. Rob, we are going to play with the Dwarven Forge in this room one of these days. You will be down here, I promise, okay? Rob's another Philly guy, so, we're getting him down here. So to get into this room, actually, you come down a set of stairs that's that way, and it leads you down into the basement area. And like the one part of the room is all video games, and this side of the room is all non-video games. Very Nintendo centric. There actually is a, if you haven't seen it, there is a YouTube video with a full showcase of what this room looks like, and it still needs work. I still need to do a mural. We need more art. I need more I love those little pixel art you get of the Nintendo characters and the SNES characters and stuff. And I was I'm so pissed because I'm going to guess that Save Against Fear is probably going to be off in October. And it's a smaller con in in Harrisburg. And I would buy my pixel art there. I was going to buy so much pixel art to hang on the walls down here. Because I have all of the Chrono Trigger characters down here. And Shovel Knight and Shield Knight from the Shovel Knight game, which is me and Jen. I'm Shovel Knight and she's Shield Knight. And I have all the Final Fantasy 1 characters. So, I can't wait to get people in here. Would I consider running any Purple Planet online again? You know what? As a full campaign, probably not. I wouldn't run it as an online campaign again. I have so much I want to run and play, and I'm the kind of person that doesn't like playing or running the same thing over again. I think the next thing I really want to do that's a long campaign is, I really want to spend a lot of time in the Chain Coffin world in Shutter Mountains and get that finished. And I really want to do a lot more Lankmar, especially before something like the Dying Earth comes out. I'm sorry. And on top, I have an idea for a long MCC campaign that takes place on my version of Metamorphosis Alpha that runs to a lot of those adventures. That is Metamorphosis Alpha / Mutant Crawl Classics / Paranoia all in space. I want to do that too. And when am I going to get the time? And the X-Crawl. I'm doing the X-Crawl on Tuesday nights. I'm scratching the X-Crawl itch with the kiddos. So we're getting that. We started on Tuesday our X-Crawl campaign's second dungeon crawl session, or dungeon battle, session 4 of this campaign kicked off with Dungeon Battle San Angeles set in the Demolition Man universe. Well, I'm just making Demolition Man take place in my X-Crawl universe. And Dungeon Battle San Angeles is People of the Pit. So I'm going to do People of the Pit as a 3-part dungeon battle where after the battle is over, if that level, they get whisked away back to their hotel, which is the Panera Resort and Spa, because in my world, Panera sells everything from the hotel chain. It's a hotel, it's a restaurant, they sell guns. All your guns come from Panera in my X-Crawl universe because they had to expand after COVID to do more sales because no one would come in and buy soup. So they started selling like revolvers and stuff. That's how Panera rolls. So I'm doing my X-Crawl, which is good. So anyway, that's the answer there. But Hector, you and Tiffany would be so welcome to fly over and you get Mark down here and have some great times and stuff. So Dan, we are gonna have a killer party in here at some point. There was supposed to be a big like Walls Dungeon Tavern, like christening or whatever you call it, like to get this place all set up, and like we were gonna have a big party for it, just for this room once I was finishing setting it up. Uh, because this is like the room I always wanted to have for my entire life, and now I've got it, and it's really hard having people over. It's impossible. No one's been in our house except for us since the middle of March. So, anyway, all right, we're gonna wrap things up here. I've taken a lot of time tonight. Next week's will not be anywhere near as long. I'll be reviewing the additional adventures that come with Peril on the Purple Planet. They don't come with it. You can get them for Peril on the Purple Planet, and that is the Rock Awakens. They're all in this size format. It's the Rock Awakens, which I've run. It'll be what's the second one? There's a second one, Synthetic Swordsman of the Purple Planet, and I'm running that on Monday for Mark and Andy and Craig and Frank, and then I think I think Will Keller is going to join us on that bounce. So that should be fun. And they're bringing some of their Nutbiter's coming back. We'll see if he makes it. And I'm running it like it is out of the box, and that adventure is freaking hard. It's Jim Wampler, and it's a killer. So I don't know who's all going to survive that one. There's one more adventure, which I think it's about Sky Lords or Sky Kings or Sky Captain or whatever. I don't know what it is. Sky Masters of the Purple Planet, I believe. And I've ordered that because I didn't have it. I'm hoping to have it here by the show next week so I can talk about it. I did not get I had a PDF too, but I can't figure out. Sky Masters, there we go. I can't find the PDF for it. I bought it, but the PDF download, I guess I have to wait for the book to show up and get the code. I don't remember how that works. I just know the book isn't here yet, so that's kind of sad. So that's that. I'm also going to discuss how to use the Purple Planet as a setting for Mutant Crawl Classics, Dark Trails, X-Crawl, or even Lankmar, if you want to throw your Lankmar characters there. This Sunday at 9 p.m., me and Judge Evie are back. We are in search of a topic. My parents may actually be here. We've all self-quarantined for a lot of time and been very, very careful. So we might let my mom and dad come visit. And if we do that, I was thinking about having my mom on the show, doing a Q&A with my mom, as she got to watch me grow up as a gamer like I'm watching my kids. And my mom and dad were incredibly supportive of my gaming hobby. I don't think that they quite understood it. My mom did play a Dwarven Thief a few times as a kid, my Dragonlance game I was running. My brother, just me and my brother, my mom would play it. And then my mom and dad have played some basic fantasy RPG. Most notably, my mom and dad were actually in my last AD&D 2nd edition game at Thanksgiving one year. I ran Council of Worms, the dragon box set. And my parents played as dragons in that game with all the rest of my family. But my dad was very disruptive. My kids, don't forget that, how disruptive my dad was at that game. So, go figure. Maybe we'll have my mom on if she's here and she's willing to do it. I'll have my mom on. We can ask her questions and stuff about like what it's like to raise a gamer and stuff. Like it's a different perspective. It wasn't a hobby she experienced. My mom is an artist and was, I think, very happy to see us reading any books, and the fact that I was reading something. And so it was a creative outlet. Plus, my mom always knew where we were. We weren't out drinking at night, and we weren't out partying at night. We were at our house gaming in my living room, and that was pretty cool. My mom and dad always let me and my brother have command of the living room. My friends were over, and they would be in different parts of the house. My mom used to hang out in the kitchen. There's a dining room table there that she would hang out at. And my dad would be in our den, and they never made it tough for us to game. We always had people over. Rob says his 79-year-old mother still thinks he's worshiping the devil when he plays, but ironically they support this. Well, there you go. They support what? They support. Well, what do they support? They support you worshiping the devil? I mean, hey, to each their own, I guess. I'd be surprised if that's what they actually mean. The gaming addiction. I gotcha. hey, there's worse addictions, you know? So I think this is definitely one of those ones that leads you to a lot of great connections and everything. So with that said, I'm going to end this here. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We would love you to keep spreading the word. We have more viewers each week. I think the shows are picking up. We got a lot of great conversation with you all out there. I think I'd be happy to do this show at this level and have it not get any bigger, but I want to have it get bigger because I'm a gamer and I want more points. That means followers, and that means, you know, subscribers and stuff. So get me my points and spread the word. I love spending these Thursdays with you. I have a really great time doing this. I'm going to keep this going. I am starting to think about what's going to be after this this review. There'll be something else coming out. All right, so that's that. So, you know, be safe, be healthy, be careful out there. And just since I had Mark and Andy on tonight, I'm just going to wrap us up tonight and maybe forever by just saying, die Rodney. Good night, everyone.